G'day, that slot car guy here, and welcome back to another slot car review. And it is MB Slot's turn with the beautiful 2005 Pagani Zonda F Street version. So stick around, full unboxing, full teardown, and we'll take this thing around my track. Welcome back to another slot car review, and yes, it is MB Slot's turn. It's my very first MB slot car review for the channel, but it's also my very first MB slot car in my collection. I do not own another MB slot, so I'm very excited to do this. Massive thank you to Simon Slot Car. He had this car for sale, I purchased it. The guy has some excellent stuff on his page, and I will put it up now. But let's dive into it. It is the Pagani Zonda F 2005 street version, and I think this thing is truly stunning and quite different. You don't see many Pagani slot cars out there. So let's have a quick look at the box itself. Of course, clear case. There's the beautiful Pagani in black and silver. Love this, very, very basic, but this MB slot branding at the front, nice blue, around to the back. And of course, you can't miss that massive MB slot cars and parts. And of course, if you don't know who MB Slot is, they are an Italian slot car company, and they have a website that's still running, which I'll put up now, so you can still purchase their slot cars and parts from them. But as always, let's dive in. Let's do a full unboxing. There's not much to unbox, so I'll probably dive straight into the teardown, and then we'll test the motor and take this thing for a trip around my track. But a quick disclaimer, I did have to take the tyres off. Here are the original tyres because they have cracked and they're not going to do the job on the track. So I have put on, and we'll have a closer look, some Carrera tyres which fit beautifully. So hopefully that gets the job done. So let's zoom in and let's take a look at this beautiful Pagani. So let's take a close look at the Pagani Zonda F 2005 street version by MB Slot. I did skip the unboxing because there's nothing else in the box to show, but let's have a look at this beautiful looking hypercar. Or was it a hypercar back then? Or was it a supercar? I don't know, 2005, let's say it's a hypercar. Straight away, two-tone effect, beautiful silver paint job with the black two-tone. I like this shopping list down the side. We'll see if we can get a bit of a zoom in on that. This little Gemmo sticker, I like how that breaks the silver, looks really good. I don't know who Gemmo is. If you do, hit the comments. But there is the change I made, the rear tyres. Two things I like about this. These tyres are going to work. And I like the Hancock design. Yes, they normally come with this standard treaded tyre or standard slick tyre with no branding. Actually, they've got MB Slot branding on them. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. Might not zoom in, but there is MB Slot that's branded on that. But I had to change them because they were definitely split through the tread, so they have no traction at all. But I actually like the Hancock design on this car. I reckon if the fronts were the same, it'll look good. Hit the comments, what do you think? Do you think they should have done some branded tyres on this? So down the side again, let's have a look at the driver. I might get copyrighted here, but he looks like the Stig. He's wearing the white, full white suit with a white helmet, but it is a flooded cockpit. And what I mean by that is you can't see his legs, you can't see under his armpits. It's a full flooded black cockpit, so there's not much detail in there. We do have some dials and dashes and a bit of steering wheel work, but it's very basic inside. Feels like a toy car, I won't lie. I like the design, but it does feel like a toy car. Let's go down to the revision mirrors or the side mirrors. Another Pagani thing that Pagani does very well is these huge side mirrors that sit actually on the front quarter panels. Really iconic of what they do. They are mirrored, and then in front of that we've got some little cutouts for some aero, which I think that is great on a car that feels very toy-like. I do like active aero, so there's two little holes that run on top of the tyres as they're turning. Let's go around to the front of this thing though. Beautiful looking front end of this slot car. Inset lights, yes, they'll probably be carbon in real life, but these are just black painted with the indicators on its own. Really well molded. I think that's a good job. And again, it does feel like a toy car, but I think they've done a good job with that. Around to the front splitter has got this nice little triangle point on the front, which follows the bonnet around to the side, and then we've got some more spotties down the front. Good looking car, very, very good looking car in real life, and I think this slot car's really good. Let's go around to the back. Now, this is where Pagani, I think, gets its name and people remember this car. That exhaust pipe setup, 4 exhaust pipes set up like that, that is Pagani any day of the week. It looks beautiful. One thing I don't like, I wish they would have changed. Yes, it is a toy slot car, this one. That's only textured. I would have loved to see a bit of photo etch mesh in there, or just some drill holes to make it look like we've got a bit of grille, because behind that you should be able to see a lot of the car. Like a Ferrari F50, it would have had that, which would have been see-through or similar, but that's just textured. Yeah, brake lights, your indicators. One thing I do like they've done is this diffuser is very nice. Just look underneath here, we've got a nice little flick up. That diffuser, rear diffuser, is very, very nice. I think they've done a good job there. Rear spoiler, nice and basic. Onto the top, two-tone effect. We've got black roof, a little bit of glass work at the rear here with actually where the glass runs down. I'll see if I can get that. You might be able to see there's a cutout. So will that affect your racing? Don't know. Will it cool the motor down? Don't think so, but it's pretty cool. And talking about the motor, there it is on top. Looks good. Nice bracing bars across. Round to the backpack, we've got some more cutout aero, which I think is really cool. I like when they actually cut out where the air hole should be. But all in all, I think that's a good looking slot car. Very nice. I think they should have done some printed tyres. What do you think? But now let's do a full teardown. Let's see what makes this thing go. Because yes, it does feel like a toy car, but inside I think they've got some good stuff happening. So let's do the full teardown. Alrighty, so I've completed the teardown, took 3 screws to remove the shell and the chassis. Very, very simple. But while I've got the shell off, I thought I'll show you, and I've taken the cockpit out, what I meant by a flooded chassis. As you can see, the driver himself is flooded up to his armpits, and the actual cockpit itself looks like it's full of water and is like a bit of black murk. As you can see, the seats are only a quarter viewable, and also the dash. So that's a flooded cockpit. It saves on space and weight, but of course you lose the detail. But that little engine work at the back, I think that's quite cool. So there you go, bit of a flooded cockpit. Let's have a quick look inside the shell. Of course, no active lights. Could you run them? Yeah, I think you could. It'd be very tight. But I think it'd be great if these had some. There'd be a bit of bleed through, I think, with all the rest of the lights at the rear. But it'd be nice to see some lights put on this. Now the chassis, some really unique designs on this chassis. One part of this chassis, I don't really understand why they've done it. I'm going to have a crack at it why I think. But let's start at the front. Fully removable front axle. I thought that adjusted the height of the front axle. I did play around with it, but it didn't really change the height. It just removed it completely. Now these springs here, I've had a really good look at them. There's 3 springs. I thought that was going to be adjustable engine mount, but when I flip it upside down, it doesn't really connect the engine mount or this engine pod itself. These are 3 screws that remove it at all. So does this take away some of the bumps and knocks when you're driving? Because there is no touch points, even with the cockpit in, there is no touch point. So these might be some active dampers. I don't know. I'm not going to say I know exactly what they're doing, but they're not adjusting any spring loading on this engine mount. So if you do know, please hit the comments because I don't know. Now the actual wire management on this is incredible. Look at these little black clips where the wires themselves very, very clean, run through straight to the front guide. Very, very clean wire management on this car. While we're talking about that, look at these little button magnets. Yes, I do use button magnets in some of my cars, but I really, really like how they've actually got the purposely cut out holes so you can place, well, it's that there's 6 at the front, or sorry, there's 8 at the front, so you can adjust them to, if the car's got a left corner you got to go around, you might have more on the left side, right-hand corners, you might have more on the right side, or just to even it out. Really cool idea, and that's also across the back axle as well. And here is one of the magnets in my hand. So I'll clip one of those in. If I can. No, it's going to want to double up. But that's a really cool design, very unique design. Down to the rear, we've got an inline motor. I will try and find some details on this motor and chuck it up in some text because nothing's printed on it, and I honestly couldn't find anything in a rush. At the rear, so we have got an inline motor driven from the center. We've got a metal pinion and looks like a nylon crown gear or spur gear at the rear. And it looks like we have bearings. It's really hard to see now. I don't want to pull that apart. Maybe we've got some bearings in the rear, but I'm not going to say we do because I can't see that. And of course, plastic, it feels like plastic rims. And yes, I have changed the tires. Flip it upside down. We're only running those 2 magnets at the front, which are, and as you can see now, all these little spots, you can change them as you like. And there's your 4 adjustments to make the engine mount removable or flexible. And the guide, let's have a quick look at the guide. Very Scalatric-ish kind of guide, not the biggest guide, but I don't mind this braid. I think this might be okay braid. So there you go. So let's test the motor, let's weigh the car, and let's throw this thing around my track. So I've set up SRC's UMS device to test the downforce of this motor, or the magnetic downforce, but unfortunately, due to the magnets are in this car from factory, I believe they're factory, it is lifting the weight off the scale and it's not giving me a proper reading. So I can take those weights out, but I'm trying to do it as a factory test. So it's not giving me a proper reading, and I can do it and show you, but it does fluctuate because it's lifting the weight up and down. So those magnets are interfering with the weight itself. So I don't want to adjust the actual level of this because yes, I can raise up the bar, but it's set from factory and I don't want to change it. So unfortunately, I won't be able to test the magnetic downforce, but I'm glad that happened because this may happen in the future to me. So let's jump straight into the hot lap.
1, 15.18 seconds. 2, 14.96 seconds. 15.16 seconds. 15.39 seconds.
So how did MB Slots Pagani Zonda 2005 F Street version perform around my track? Well, I did a 1496, which I'm actually quite surprised it was that quick with what I've done to the car, which is pretty much nothing other than change some pretty crappy tyres with some pretty crappier tyres just to get this thing around my track. So I try to keep it fair by not putting on slicks or anything that's special. And I'm actually surprised. It did handle and perform like a non-mag car. There is magnets running across the center. I showed in the teardown you can place them. I think if I move those magnets to the rear, I would get more of a mag feel car. But going into the corners, as soon as I released the accelerator, it wanted to kick out and it was just skirmish through the corners. So I couldn't really put much power down through the corners. Through the straights, this thing had a lot of power. I do like the inline setup. It's got a metal pinion on it. It's got a nylon spur gear. So there's some quality stuff on this car that originally looks like out of the box a toy car. So kudos to them for trying something new. Do I recommend MB Slot? Look, it's a different kind of brand. It's a first for me. Will I get another one? Of course I will. I collect all kind of slot cars, but I definitely want to show another brand that might be something you like. If you want a Zonda, this is probably one of the only ways other than, I can't remember the other brand, but there is one more brand that does a Zonda, so you might have to grab an MB Slot. But they do have a website running, which I'll put up again. So I will try and reach out and see if there is any brand new MB Slot cars and see what the difference is between the two. But of course, a massive thank you to Simon Slot Car. Mate, you have some genuinely cool stuff. I did enjoy this. I like showing you guys some weird and wonderful stuff. I do like the new stuff. Can I compare this with the new stuff? Definitely not. But it was a hell of fun, and I think it went better than I thought. So as always, at that slot car guy on Instagram and YouTube, please share the videos, like, subscribe, hit the comments, start a forum on my chats. What do you want to see in the hobby? What do you like about this? What didn't you like? Have you got one? Did it go well on your truck? I love seeing what you guys say, and the feedback's incredible. So stay safe, take care, ciao.